How the devil are you doing this fine day? Me? Well, against the advice of medical professionals, I'm here, even though I should probably be tucked up in bed. You can tell by my voice. I spent the whole of last night and this morning coughing, sneezing, and generally spluttering. So I'm going to try and keep my speaking to an absolute minimum this morning, and I'm sure there'll be people out there that'll be delighted about that. I think that would be best for all of us anyway. Even so, it was a big day on the news front yesterday, with both Doosan and Mick George Group being acquired. To save what's left of my voice, I'm not reporting on either of those things here, but I'd love to get your thoughts in the chat if you would care to. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. It is Tuesday, the 13th of December, and as that remarkably persistent guy just said, welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Qatar's Stadium 974 vanishes faster than England's World Cup hopes. We're taking a closer look at the Doosan DX225LC-7X. It's a Turkish delight as we wander around the Bauma 2022 stand of Hidromek. Komatsu sets out its stall for the future. Plus, we're going to take a very quick look ahead to ConExpo 2023. And we'll get to all of that in just a second. But first, as always, let's see who among the rich and the shameless will be celebrating a birthday on this day of days. Happy birthday! And it's many happy returns to boxer Archie Moore and to actor Dick Van Dyke, who is 97 today, and as far as I know, he's still seemingly going very strong. Happy birthday also to actor Christopher Plummer, guitarist Ted Nugent, to Man About the House actress Paula Wilcox, and to Citizen Smith star Robert Lindsay. To Boardwalk Empire's Steve Buscemi, Morris Day from The Time, radio DJ Sarah Cox, and to Tom DeLong from Blink 182. Many happy returns to them, one and all. Where are we? I don't know. Yes, okay. I know where I am now. Made at least in part out of shipping containers. It was billed as the world's first demountable stadium, capable of being assembled, used, demounted, and relocated. With its World Cup duties now at an end, Qatar's Stadium 974 has been dismantled. That was the Stadium 974. In case you were wondering, 974 is the international dialing code for Qatar. It's also the number of shipping containers used in the construction of the stadium. I wonder where that will pitch up next. Pitch up? Get it? Never mind. Just noticed my mic was muted then, so I just cracked a funny that nobody got to hear. Trust me, hilarious. Now, I know we have some Doosan fans around here. I count myself among them. So when the company dropped a new film showing off just some of the tech in its latest generation of excavators, well, we just had to share it with you. That Doosan really does come fully loaded with all the gadgets, doesn't it? And in speaking of tech, just to let you know, I have this morning uploaded, you can't see it, but I've uploaded the first episode of our new T4S Tech Foresights audio and video podcast. Just to let you know, if you watch it on YouTube, obviously you can watch it. You can also watch it on Spotify. You'll be able to watch it on Demolition News. You'll be able to watch it on Facebook. But if you just want to listen while you're driving, you can do that too through the likes of, well, you can listen through Spotify, but you can also listen through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well, whole host of podcast platforms. So you can take your choice. I was going to say pay your money and take your choice. You don't have to pay any money. It's free. So back with the show.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We're heading back to Bavaria again, folks, only this time we're going via Turkey. There were many companies I was looking forward to seeing at Bauma. Most of them were in the field of demolition equipment and attachments, but there was one other company that I have admired from afar for quite some time, and that company was Hidromek. Yeah, very impressive stand. And that opera cab, which I've seen only in film before, really was one of the best on display at the show. And speaking of shows, stick around for what we have coming up after this. Myself, Ed Butler, who's in the chat, Steve Williamson, who's in the chat, Nick Drew is in the chat. We've only just recovered from Bauma 2022, but already my journalistic eye has started to scan the horizon for our next big event. And that event is taking place in Las Vegas next March. It's just 3 and a bit months from now. And this is just a glimpse of what ConExpo will have on offer. Yeah, I've just got one tiny little detail to take care of now, and then I'll be confirming my flights and my hotel reservations. Can hardly wait. Really looking forward to getting back to ConExpo. Hope it turns out better than the last one. The last one was a fantastic show, but they cut it short because a little thing called COVID had just arrived. So hope that doesn't happen again. Just before I play you our final film of the day, I just wanted to remind you that tomorrow night, 7 p.m, I'll be hosting Gilles Ronnet, the Caterpillar Demolition Product Specialist, on the evening show. Excuse me. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to aim at Gilles, obviously demolition related, then please let me have them in advance if you can. If not, turn up on the night. Don't forget also, can I show them to you? I've shown them to you before. I can't actually see it in my... Where did I put that damn thing? I put a hydraulic breaker up there somewhere. I think it might be up above. There, that's it there. There. That's a Caterpillar hydraulic breaker model. We've got 3 of those to give away tomorrow night. So if you are around at 7 p.m, please join myself and Gilles Ronnet. Bring your questions, bring your enthusiasm, as you always do, and I'll be telling you more about that then. Over the past week or two, we have featured Komatsu a number of times as a result of their impressive showing at the Bauma 2022 exhibition. Well, we're back with Komatsu once again, only this time we're not looking at the specific machines. With the end of 2022 now within sight and a new year ahead, the second largest construction equipment manufacturer in the world is setting out its stall for the future.
You inspire us. We adapt to your needs. We don't ask you to adapt to ours. for any of your job sites, for quarrying, mining, demolition, waste and recycling or urban works, we offer a full range of tailor-made solutions, machines and services. Thanks to your discussions with our product specialists, our hydraulic excavators, dump trucks, crawler dozers, wheel loaders, backhoe loaders and other equipment can be developed specifically for the European market and to meet your requirements. Our advisors are experts in their field, but no one knows your business like you do. Shall we select your optimal investments together? You make us responsible. Climate change has made us all think. As we explore new ways to continue building tomorrow's world, together, new technologies are surfacing. Cleaner engines with lower fuel consumption are constantly being developed. By working with you, we find newer and better ways to use our machines and to train your operators. Just as we introduced hybrid technology to the market, we now bring you our new and expanding fully electric Komatsu fleet. Our work is never done. Efficiency is another challenge. Better sensors and measuring tools are also being introduced. You can work with Komatsu IMC Intelligent Machine Control for unprecedented accuracy and pace. Thanks to data-driven information remotely received from each Komatsu machine, we can assist you with guidance and support for machine condition, productivity, and operation. You count on us. We wish to partner with you in every possible way. Komatsu Financing helps you to build projects and develop your business. Handing you the keys to your new machine is just one step in our long-term commitment to your success. Your equipment will be monitored remotely with contracts 24/7 throughout its long life in the field. And after many hours of work, when it's ready for a new life, your used machine can be given a thorough checkup, servicing and tune-up by our certified technicians and receive its qualified used equipment stamp of approval. It can then be sold with a clean bill of health and a guarantee of real value for your money. You challenge us. You have taught us that business continuity is of paramount importance. A network of Komatsu specialists work together with you and is always ready to help, every day and every night. Highly trained and experienced service technicians can proactively prevent a major breakdown of your machine and maximizing its uptime and resale value. From our parts distribution center located in the heart of Europe, we deliver all Komatsu genuine spare parts as quickly as possible. Maintenance programs help to keep your machines in good working condition and on the job site with no worries to you. You rely on us. Safety is our #1 concern and our main priority. You want sensitive controls, accurate to a millimeter, excellent credentials, and sustained reliability. Exceptional attention was given to the design and comfort of your cabin. We know that you're working in your cab seat more often than relaxing at home in your sofa. And we also respect the environment. We are convinced that we must give back more than what we take. For every machine that we put on the market, we give a generous compensation to nature. The future is in our hands. Thank you for making us part of your team. Komatsu, creating value together.
Really is quite a range, isn't it? Come to think of it, really is quite a company. Now, I'm going to jump ahead slightly. I know we had a comment in the chat there. Let me have a look. Trying to see it. Me and Ed, this is Steve Williamson. Me and Ed had the privilege of getting our picture in in the big bucket. Crazy the size of them. And if anybody has any doubts about the validity of what Steve has just said, that's me in the same bucket. It really is quite a size, isn't it? Right, that pretty much. I tell you what, I'm going to roll the lady that insults me, and then we'll get back on the show.
Sorry to interrupt the guy with the funny glasses, but if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button as it helps our channel. Or, better still, share this video with a friend or a colleague. Thank you. Right, back to Beardy.
Right, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I do have some other bits and pieces to tell you, so if you can stick around, please do. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat, see what you're all saying today. I'm going to try and make it through without coughing and spluttering all over the place. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Stay warm because it's still chilly out there. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll see you on the other side of this. Coughing and spluttering and a bit achy. Good morning, one and all. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Let's go through the chat very quickly because I have got some bits and pieces to tell you. Gary Muirhead says, morning Mark, morning guys. Is that guys and girls, possibly? Or maybe he's just having a moment. Morning Gary, thank you very much indeed for being here. I will remind you this very quickly, at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Well, let me start at the beginning. Breakfast show tomorrow, all things being equal. Neil Edwards will be joining us a little bit later in the month than usual for reasons that he will explain. But also, 7 p.m. tomorrow night, we will be on with the second world premiere Caterpillar Demolition film, and there will be a chance to win one of 3 of those. Seeing that? Caterpillar breaker model? Just got it off the shelf. So if you've got any questions for the demolition specialist from Caterpillar, Michelle Ronne, please let me have them in advance if you can, so we can do a bit of prep work. But if not, just drop them in the chat on the night. We'll be doing the prize draw at the very end of the show. Won't be anything particularly complicated to do. You just have to type a word in the chat, I would imagine. But if you can join us tomorrow night, I'd love to see you here. Steve Williamson says, morning, all stopped here, blizzard conditions here in the sunny Highlands. We do have a fairly strong Scottish contingent for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I'm not entirely sure anyone up there can understand a damn word I'm saying. Nick Drew is in the house. Morning Mark, and morning all, he says. Morning Nick, thank you very much indeed for being here. And Ken Hatcher says, good morning and goodbye. He did tell me in advance he was waiting for tarmac. I think that tarmac may well have arrived. Let's have a look. That was my proper question of the day. Both Doosan and Mick George Group sold yesterday. So is that a sign of things to come? I think we'll come back to that in just a moment. Ed Butler, the Lone Ranger to Steve Williamson's Tonto, or the other way around. I'll leave them to decide which one it is. But Batman and Robin, maybe. Listen, they come as a package, and it's quite a package. Morning, Ed. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Jim Turner's here. Morning, Mark and all. I'm riddled with cold too. Yeah, I saw it coming. My eldest son's girlfriend succumbed about 3 days ago, and you could just see it working its way through the house. And lo and behold, it's made a stop with me. There you are. Ed Butler is now saying good morning to his sidekick. Nick Drew on the question of the day about Doosan and Mick George. Definitely a sign of the times. Business models seem to be changing rapidly these days. I'm racking my brains, and I don't know if anybody else out there will remember this, but Mick George Group has been bought by Hanson, the aggregates and quarry company. I'm fairly sure they bought a demolition recycling company, or a demolition and recycling company, a few years back, and then after a little while decided, actually, we don't particularly like this, and yet here we are again. Anybody remembers that? I'd love to hear from you. Steve Williams says, do like a Doosan, as do I. But my opinion on the comfort of it wasn't great. Leather seat and all in the one I sat in at Scott Clark. felt really uncomfortable compared to other machines. My opinion, he says. See, that's where I rely upon you folks, particularly you operators out there. I get to see a new machine. For example, I was up at JCB a week and a bit ago to see the hydrogen backhoe loader and the hydrogen loadle. I got to spend about 35 seconds actually sat in the seat. One of the machines wasn't operating, the other one was being operated by somebody else. So I got in it, sat down, and then got back out again. So I have no way of judging. Sometimes I do get to drive them a little bit longer, but it's not quite the same as spending 7-8 hours in the cab. So I will bow to your superior knowledge of the comfort of the Doosan. Thank God I've got a mute button. Mick Norton's in the house as well. Morning, Mick. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Steve Williamson's back again. Bauma certainly opened my eyes on how popular and big Hidromek are, and other brands that are huge around the world that you wouldn't expect if you don't see them much in the UK. He's a very interesting one, and I do wonder about that. We tend, here in the UK, we tend to dismiss the new rather too quickly, I think. I've been around long enough to remember the arrival of the first Japanese mini excavators, and there were lots of jokes about they're only fit for digging your window box and stuff like that. The first generation of our larger excavators from the likes of Komatsu and from Hitachi were dismissed as they're too square, they rust too much, and so on down the line. Well, look at Komatsu and Hitachi now, and I do think exactly the same about some of the brands. You know, we tend to think of Hidromek. Well, I don't think we do think of Hidromek too much over here, to be perfectly honest. And yet, you get to Turkey, where they're from, but you also get to bits of the world where there are lots of Turks, Germany being one of them, and they are a really, really big deal. And as you've seen, I think their cab, their opera-style cab, as they call it, is a match for pretty much anything out there. And Nick Drew backs me up. Top quality products from Hidromek. Nick has actually spent some time on certainly Hidromek backhoe loader. I know there's at least one here in the UK, and Nick's had a spin in it, so he should know. Steve Williamson, can't wait for ConExpo. No, me either. To be perfectly honest, I'm just getting Christmas out the way, and then the button will be pressed, book the flight, book the hotel accommodation, and we'll be good to go. We are speaking to a couple of the major brands that are going to be exhibiting over there on the basis of trying to do some work with them, but I'll keep you posted on all of that. And speaking of things for the new year, I mentioned recently about trying to come up with a more regular schedule. Obviously, this show happens 5 days a week, so long as I'm in the office, and sometimes it even happens when I'm not in the office. So we do this 5 times a week, but we also have, and I have to admit, we've neglected it somewhat recently because of pressures of work and family and stuff. We also have our Saturday social show where we get together at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning just for a good old chinwag. We also don't do enough of our Wednesday night shows. Obviously, we've got one tomorrow night, and we had one 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. And on top of all of that, which I've already mentioned, we've also got our new show, which is called T4S. It's Tech 4 Sites. Tech 4 Sites. You need to see it written down. It makes a lot of sense. And what I'm trying to do is to draw up a schedule. So my first thing was, excuse me 1 second. So what I'm currently thinking is there's not a great deal I can do with the Tech 4 Sites thing because that tends to happen when that happens. But I'm aiming now for the new year for the Saturday social show to be the first Saturday of the month. And I am aiming to do the evening shows where we will have a guest for what I'm currently terming Middle Wednesday. Now I realise a Middle Wednesday is a bit of a flexible feast because there are 4 and sometimes 5 Wednesdays in a single month. I can keep you posted on that, but I think if we can actually draw up a schedule, and it's more for me than for you, draw up a schedule so that I know exactly what's coming up, so that I need to get a guest online for that particular date in advance, then that's exactly what we're going to do. And before anyone asks, Gary, I'm looking at you. We are still working on trying to get Terry Cornby back to do another episode of The Surgery. Watch this space. Ed Butler, I agree with Steve. I operated a DX140-7 for a short while. Cracking bit of kit, good power, reach and stability, but the seat was a bit on the hard side. As I say, I should bow to your superior knowledge of the subject. You ready for this, Ed? March is game on. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing you two guys over there. Looking forward to ConExpo enormously. As I say, the last one was curtailed by a day. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but obviously we knew of the presence of COVID. We didn't realise that it would effectively shut the world for the best part of 2 years. There had been talk, when we arrived at the show, there were lots of people doing elbow bumps rather than handshakes. Although, funnily enough, on the XDMG stand, the Chinese manufacturer, I got a hug. That's reassuring. But all of that aside, we were going along our merry way until I think it was the Wednesday night. And myself, my son and my wife were in a taxi heading for a restaurant on the strip, and it came on the taxi radio that the NBA basketball season had been cancelled due to COVID, and that really did hit it home that we were talking about something very, very serious indeed. And the following day we got to the show, and there were people cleaning door handles, and everyone was keeping a distance. While there had been a few masks about the place, there was a whole lot more. And then, as I said, the show was actually shortened by a day. And then, to make matters even more interesting, my son, it was his birthday the day after ConExpo ended. So myself and my wife flew back home to Blighty, and my son flew on to Los Angeles. And ended up in complete lockdown. Thankfully, we managed to get him back home again about 48 hours later. But he literally arrived in the evening, went out for a meal, had a fine old time. I was looking forward to exploring LA and all that LA has to offer. And lo and behold, the following morning, the army were in town, basically shutting the place down. So, I hope we don't get that again. Let's have a look. Need to clear my throat again. Jim Turner says, I've got 2 reasons to go to Vegas, the plant show and the shooting show. Problem is, it's way down the list of other stuff I need first. The shooting show? There's a shooting show? I'm sure there is. And where better to have it than in America, where they like a gun. Let's have a look. I mentioned this one. Me and Ed had the privilege of getting our picture in the big bucket. Crazy the size of it. Yeah, and when you think that was the PC 4000, that's not even the big one. I don't know how big they go. There's certainly a 7000. Is there an 8 or a 9? Don't know. Maybe somebody will be able to tell us. Running through. Be good to hear what the demolition sector thinks on OLED windscreens. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. It's a very good question. There's a wider conversation to be had there, I think, and I know this is something that Peter Haddock often talks about, this idea of cab clutter, and I think that's particularly relevant when you've got a high reach where you may have a camera on the dipper of the high reach. So in addition to all the other knobs and dials and screens and monitors that you have, you've got another one that you're possibly watching while you're operating. Would that not be better displayed on the screen? Maybe. I will make a note of that, and I will ask Gilles Ronet tomorrow night. But hopefully, Steve, you'll be able to ask him yourself, because then you'll be in a chance to win a Caterpillar breaker model. I describe them as the Lone Ranger and Tonto, or quite possibly Batman and Robin. Ed has another idea. They're more like Laurel and Hardy. Well, I didn't like to say, but okay. Steve Williamson, definitely. I'm the fat one, you're the thin one. See, this is why they're such a good team. Mick Norton. Will manufacturers now think again about the launch of their electric ranges of equipment after the announcement this week? The demand for electric cars is falling for the first time since the pandemic. Soaring electricity costs make the vehicles and equipment increasingly costly to run. Yeah. Well, as I've put together some questions for Gilles René to prepare for tomorrow night, and one of those was reverting back to the Instagram poll that we did about a week and a half ago, in which I asked everybody what they thought the future fuel would be. Hydrogen came top with 41%. Second was diesel with 40%. 12% electric, and then dead last was HVO. I'm not entirely sure I'm in agreement with the diesel part, but it does look increasingly like hydrogen may well be the way to go. I do like the Hidromek. It looks a solid, well-built lump. I would like to have a good look and operate their 14-ton track excavator. Well, given your profile in the industry these days, Ed, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before Hidromek come a-knocking. Let's have a look. I remember in the early 1980s when I was working in the Oman, the Ministry of Defence spent several million Omani Rial on a fleet of Komatsu equipment rather than Caterpillar. I had my doubts, but was proved wrong. Komatsu were a tremendous asset with spares availability second to none. Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly not. It's not knocked Caterpillar off their perch. Caterpillar are still by far the biggest construction equipment manufacturer in the world, but I do think there is a temptation to dismiss the new and the unknown, and I've seen it in my own line of business. I was working for Plant Manager's Journal when a new magazine arrived, a new magazine called Earth Movers, and although we saw the threat, the fact that it was available through newsagents and was bigger and sexier than our magazine, our publishers, God bless them, said it'll be a flash in the pan, no one will pay for magazines these days, blah, 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 blah. Lo and behold, Plant Manager's Journal was gone about 2 years later. Earth Movers, Nick Drew and all, still going strong. You dismiss these things, same as music industry. Downloads, will they ever catch on? Yeah, well, it turns out yes, they bloody will, and the music industry has been complaining about it ever since. As I say, we dismiss the new at our peril. There's a Hidromek Dig Day taking place down here in Cornwall on the 28th, 29th with new dealers MPS. Is that December, Nick? I'll leave you to answer that. If it is December, I won't be there. I'm actually planning to take some time off. And just to let you know on that, 23rd will be our final day, and I'm not going to be back until the 4th. And I'm going to go away and put my feet up, watch some crappy TV, eat my body weight in chocolate, and Nick has just said, 28th and 29th down in Cornwall, MPS. So if you need a break from your Christmas break, and let's face it, that's often the case, then head on down to Cornwall, go and see MPS. Are you going, Nick? Be interested to see if you're going to be popping down there. If so, please grab us some footage. Be interested to share that on the show. And if Nick is going, obviously, I'm sure the attraction of going to see Hidromek machines in action and possibly getting behind the levers is one major attraction. But if Nick Drew's going to be there, obviously you get to rub shoulders with the man, the myth, the legend that is Nick Drew as well. Nick Drew, I did see that. Just might be difficult getting down there on that date. Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? And Nick Drew is going to be there. So even if you can't make it, obviously make it would be the best. If you can't, I'm sure Nick will be camera in hand and hopefully be able to deliver some great footage as he generally does. To be honest, I'm surprised that Earth Movers magazine has achieved such longevity when it's now costing more than £4 a go. There is a weird set of economics. I remember having this conversation with things like my dad, God bless him. My dad would complain about spending 10 quid on a t-shirt. He would complain about spending 30 quid on a pair of shoes. but he would regularly buy himself fishing poles that were 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 quid. Fact is, as far as my dad was concerned, shoes and t-shirts, don't care. But he was a fisherman, loved his fishing, and therefore, and it's exactly the same with some of this stuff. It's the same as when you think about what makes up a pushchair for a child. It's some canvas, some aluminium, and some wheels. It's hardly high-tech engineering, but they're coming in at £1,000 plus. And they can come in at £1,000 plus because, as myself and my good lady have done 3 times now, daughter says, I'm expecting a game, and I think I need a new pushchair. So off we trot, checkbook in hand, and we pay for it. And if you are into your diggers and your dozers, sorry Fred, diggers and dozers is perfectly fine. If you would like a magazine to sit down and read of an evening while you're on the toilet, while you're in the cab of your machine, £4, not bad. And I think the other thing to point out, not that I'm doing a selling job for Earth Movers, although Graham Black, if you are watching and you would like to send me some money for having advertised your magazine, please feel free to do so. One of the other things that I think is worth bearing in mind, it is that the price actually reflects the growth of the magazine. And I don't mean the growth in the number of people that are buying it, because I don't know how many people buy it these days. But the magazine, when it first started, was 60, 70 pages. It's 120, 130, 140 pages long now. So you're getting an awful lot of magazine for your buck. And don't forget also, I would say that Graham Black is probably the best editor in the business these days, certainly on this side of the pond. And then you have people like David Wiley and Nick Drew contributing to it as well. Both top of their game. £4 doesn't seem like a bad value at all to me, which is why I buy it basically. And that, and to keep an eye on what other people are up to. Ed Butler says, haven't had mine through yet for next month. A bloody postal strike. Well, there is that drawback. Although, funnily enough, where had I been? I was up in Stafford about a week ago and stopped off to get some diesel for the car on the way up. And there at the checkout was a copy of Earth Movers for sale. And then I went and did what I needed to do, drove back, stopped off to top up again. And there, lo and behold, was another copy of Earth Movers, different service station. So they're out there. Postal strikes are a bit of a pain. The work and time it must take to make it, each magazine must be costly and time consuming, so £4 isn't that much. Most mags are that price, if not more. You have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea. Having been on that side of the fence for as long as I have, and even things like, the cost of paper is constantly shifting, and I don't know how often the team at Earth Movers change their pricing, but you can set a price one week and then be told actually the cost of paper has gone up by another 15%. And postage. Back when I first started Demolition magazine, we could send out a copy of the Demolition magazine for about 60p off the top of my head. By the time we were 3 years in, that 60p had become £1.15. Pretty much double. Bearing in mind, on that occasion, the Demolition magazine was actually a freebie. All that was paid for by advertising. So it really does. It does have a major impact. 120 pages, half of which is advertising. Yeah, I listen. When I was on Plant Managers Journal back in the day, the editorial department, my bit, and the advertising department got on so badly and had so little to do with each other, they actually located us in different towns. They originally put us in one building and then they moved us to different towns. We were in Wallington in Surrey and the advertising department was in Sutton in Surrey. A couple of train stops away or about a 15-minute drive. That's how closely we work together. I have the same feeling about advertising I am one of those that doesn't look at advertising in magazines. I'll make no bones about it. However, the one thing I will say with a magazine like an Earth Movers or like an Awesome Earth Movers, or back in the day a Demolition magazine, you do tend to find that people hang on to those magazines almost like a reference work. And I would include the advertising within that. I think there is a lot to be said. You may have seen in an advert for an attachment or a machine or a device or a system or a bit of software. You might have seen that 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, much the same as exhibitions. And then you can just flick through your copies of Earth Movers. That's the one. That's exact. I didn't need it then, but I certainly need it now. I think that's. I think it's valid. Social media is taking over magazines. Still good to chill at home with a mag and a cuppa. Yeah. Although increasingly, and maybe I'm not typical, increasingly I tend to find myself doing the chilling at home with a cuppa and my phone going through Instagram. I've become so focused on video, even now, I mean, bearing in mind I've been writing, literally sat there writing on a keyboard, that was writing by the way, writing on a keyboard for 33 going on 34 years. And I was that into the whole idea of writing. I used to have a notebook and a pen by the side of the bed. So that if I came up with an intro or an interesting headline or something like that in the middle of the night, I could note it down. In the last 3 years, that's gone full circle. Now, when I'm starting to think about a subject, I think in terms of video. How would we show that? What would we shoot? Where would we be? How would we voice it? And I have pretty much converted to a video first format. And when you see, I asked my son Fred yesterday about some stats that we took out of Bauma. We're paid to do some work for a few brands, and I wanted to give them a bit of an update on how well their various bits and pieces had performed. And we had a very quick look, and I do mean a very quick look, at taking in just Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. We had, I say we, it's the royal we, and Freddie got most of them, but we had attracted more than 50 million views since Bauma. I don't know how big Earth Movers is these days. Last I heard it was about 16,000, 17,000. It may well be bigger than that. I honestly don't know. Nick, if you'd like to tell me differently, please feel free to do so. But yeah, 50 million. And that is why we get approached by brands who want to leverage our audience. Make no bones about it. You think about, I would certainly do that, Ed, not a problem at all. When you think about Caterpillar tomorrow, bearing in mind we are talking about the biggest construction equipment manufacturer in the world, but they have reached out to us because we have such a broad but focused demolition audience. So we're hosting the second of their world premieres. Hope he is well. He was when I saw him about 51 minutes ago. Yeah, he's fit well. Whether he will be able to stave off the cold remains to be seen. He's doing okay at the moment, but I'll certainly pass on your regards in. And yeah, let's hook up, as they say, stateside when we get to ConExpo. Let's see what we can do. I think we did some great stuff together this time around, but I'd like to think we can do something even more exciting next time around. Right, while I've still got a little bit of voice, I'm going to save it because I've got a lot of talking to do. All things being equal, Neil Williams on the show this time tomorrow, and then 7 p.m. tomorrow night, world premiere of another Caterpillar film. Your chance to win one of those. Good chat with my mate Gilles Ronnet, the demolition product specialist as well. And then if I've still got a voice, I'll be doing this on Thursday and Friday as well. And that's about it. And just one final thing I will tell you now. The first ever episode of T4S, Tech Foresights, will be coming out on Friday. However, if you're one of our patrons over on /demolition news, you'll be able to see it later today. That's about all I need to say, I think. It says definitely looking forward to it, Mark. Stateside, yeah, absolutely. Have a good day. Get well soon. Many thanks indeed, Steve. Right, stay warm, people. I'll see you tomorrow, twice, assuming the voice holds up. Till then, have a good one. All the best.